Look at this tweet from the governor of Texas. This was on March 2nd, 2.5 months ago. He said, Texas is open 100%, everything. I also ended the statewide mask mandate. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it, but 330,000 people took the time to like that tweet. That's a lot for Twitter. I bet that was the most popular thing that the governor has ever said on Twitter. I think he spoke for millions, maybe tens of millions of people, maybe hundreds of millions. But not everyone. Look at this reply from a Democrat in Texas, Beto O'Rourke. A death warrant for Texans. Add them to the 44,000 plus killed as he failed to confront the pandemic and botched the vaccine rollout. He continues, and those who froze to death because he cares more about energy companies' profits than keeping Texans alive. Abbott is killing the people of Texas. So right after that, he was accused of signing a death warrant. He cares more about companies than people. He's killing people, not the virus, he is. Well, Trudeau's CBC state broadcaster, which we pay $1.5 billion to every year for Canadian content we can't find elsewhere, they were obsessed by this tweet by the Texas governor. They were doing stories about it. I'm not sure why. It really doesn't have anything to do with Canada, except one thing I'll tell you in a minute. This is their story. Texas ends pandemic mask mandate despite warnings from medical experts. Doesn't he know? Several businesses say they will maintain a mask-on policy despite the governor's move. I'm just going to read 2 paragraphs. This is what Trudeau wants you to know about this Texas decision. So it's very important. It had to be in the state broadcaster in Canada. The Republican governor has faced sharp criticism from his party over the mandate, which was imposed 8 months ago amid other COVID-19 restrictions. It was only ever lightly enforced, even during the worst outbreaks of the pandemic. Texas will also do away with limits on the number of diners that businesses can serve indoors, said Abbott, who made the announcement at a restaurant in Lubbock. He said the new rules would take effect March 10th. Boy, the CBC are mad about it, aren't they? And no one knows Texas Republican politics better than the CBC. So they said that this was very unpopular with Republicans, they said. I think it's safe to conclude that the reason they went so heavy on the story is they didn't want anyone in Canada getting big ideas about freedom, did they? All right, so that was March 2nd. It's almost June, actually. So how's that all working out? Well, here's a summary of their latest statistics, illustrated in this tweet by a jam-packed baseball stadium down there. Let me read the facts that were announced yesterday. 0 COVID-related deaths in the whole state. Fewest COVID cases in over 13 months. Lowest 7-day COVID new case rate. Lowest COVID hospitalizations in 11 months. They're just done. In fact, they're not locking down citizens anymore, bullying people with big fines or snitch lines. They're actually doing the opposite. The governor is now threatening any officials who still want to party like it's 2020, who love the lockdown. The governor is declaring war on them. The Karens, as the unfortunate nickname went. I know there's a lot of viewers named Karen who don't like that. He's declaring war on the scolds, on the snitches, on the punishers. Look at this tweet by Greg Abbott, the governor. Texas is prohibiting mask mandates by government entities. Starting May 21st, local governments attempting to impose mask mandates can be fined up to $1,000. We're also prohibiting public schools from mandating masks after June 4th. Texans, not government, should decide their best health practices. So no government officials can tell you to wear a mask anymore. If they do, the government officials will be fined. No schools can make you do it either, at least not the public schools. That was all junk science anyways. It was all politics, it's all fear. And they're done with it in Texas. Same in Florida too. Those are 2 of the 3 biggest states, you know. In Florida, I think I might have showed you this the other day, their governor, Ron DeSantis, who I hope runs for president in 2024, he just declared that every single charge against every single person in Florida for a COVID violation, like our Fight the Fines project here in Canada, he just said they're all pardoned. Just all of them. Did you see that?
Well, it's a total overreach, Laura. This is exactly what we ordered against last summer, many, many months ago. And so I was actually just recently briefed on this case. And we looked at it, and so I'm glad you have Mike and Jillian on, and I'm also glad to be on to be able to say that effective tomorrow morning, I'm going to sign a reprieve under my constitutional authority. So that'll delay the case for 60 days against both of them. And then when our clemency board meets in the coming weeks, we'll issue pardons not only for Mike and Jillian, but for any Floridian that may have outstanding infractions for things like masks and social distancing.
He did the same thing on the masks in schools. I think he was a little bit ahead of the Texas governor. Did you see that one?
These kids do not need to be wearing these masks, okay? I'm sorry, they don't. We need to be able to let them be kids and let them act normally, and that's what should be the case in the fall throughout the school year.
So that's some of the biggest states in America. And here's our reporter, Lincoln Jay. We sent him to London in the United Kingdom. They've opened up the pubs now. It's pretty much normal there now. Not 100% normal, but getting there. Lincoln tells me that he sees some people with masks, some people without them, but there's none of this vicious scolding and finger pointing and snitching we have in most places in Canada. In fact, I thought this was interesting. He said he was on the Tube, that's the subway in London, and the public announcements positively caution people against assuming that someone without a mask is breaking the rules, and positively reminding people that you may have an exemption for the mask, and the reason might not be visually apparent. The person might have asthma, so you might not see the reason for the exemption. But the announcement in the Tube says don't assume they don't have an exemption. My point is, even the scolding announcements in the UK, says Lincoln, take pains to say, hey, don't pick on this guy for not wearing a mask. How different from our own East Germany-style civic culture here in Canada. That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.